So the face is pretty close to done. I think it's time for me to do this edge with the hair. And we'll see that. Let's see. Let's choose, because the hair in this photograph is so dark, I'm going to lighten it up a little, but I need to do this dark base first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose a dark color. Her hair is red or auburn. But I think I'll choose, this is almost kind of like a dark maroon or burgundy. I'm going to come in here, turn up the opacity, not all the way, maybe to about 70. And I'm going to begin to fill this in. And I want to be really careful. Actually, let's do this on a new layer, because we do not want to destroy what we've already done. And by the way, I hope you're saving this as you go.
That's always a good idea.
It's always a good idea, but I always forget.
I don't know how many times I've worked on something, forgot to save it, you know.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's really easy to get, you know, to zone out. And
you get so involved in it.
Yeah.
And don't even think about it.
Now you can see I'm going over the face slightly, but I'm going to come back and clean that edge up. But once we have this dark color in here, it makes a huge difference with how the face looks in the end. I'm holding down the space bar, and this little hand comes up. And then
okay, so hold down the space bar to get the hand tool, and then click on the image to actually move it around the window. Okay.
Okay, now I'll come in, and I'll just do a light erase along the edges. Actually, that's too heavy an erase. Too heavy of an eraser. I'll do a lighter touch along the edges. And clean that up. And you can go back and forth with this, you know, till you get the edge that you want. And of course I went a little too far, because that's just what I normally do. Okay, but that's good for now, and then we'll just use a smaller brush and we'll get in those little edges. Okay, there we go. Now I think, now that I've already done it, that for the hair on this edge, that's a little light. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the levels so it darkens up a little. And I think that's closer to what I want. So now that I have that, I can just select that color and I can fill in the rest of the image. Choose a larger brush. So now, once again, we're starting with the kind of fuzzy airbrush tool. We'll just generally fill the hair in quickly. We're on our different layers, so we don't have to worry too much about messing up the face, because we have it saved. Probably be easier if I turn this all the way up and used a large brush. Okay. And I'm going to keep some of this texture because I think that'll be helpful in the end result. So I'm not going to get too close to the face here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a lighter transitional color to do the hair that's right along the edge of the face. Because if you look at the image here, the hair here, it looks a little bit thinner. You know, and so there are just a few strands along the face. So I don't want to put this harsh, dark color right against the lights. So same as with everything else, you know, you don't want that highest highlight at the end, and you don't want that darkest dark along your lightest light. You want your transitional colors. That's really important. So, Just going to keep working here, cover this up. We still need to complete that ear, but I really want to show you how to do this hair first. I'm going to move these out of the way here for a second and finish that up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose one of the lighter colors. Let's see what we have here. Now our hair is red, so I'd like to stick to kind of these auburny. There we go. That's pretty good. It's a little bit intense, so we'll go down here to the neutrals and we'll try one of these. And I will lower the opacity because I'm doing that transition. Let's try 25 and see what we get. Okay, that's decent. It's not great. I'd like the color to be a little more red, so I'm going to use the picker and change that myself. Okay, that's a little more like what I'm looking for. And what I want to do is I just want to go along that original sketch so that that will go away. And I don't want to put it on too dark, but I am, just kind of putting it on there easily, not fussing too much, not paying too much attention to neatness or the drawing. I'm just getting it on there so that there's a softer transition. And then if you want to start using the Wacom pen tool to its full effect so that you get those nice thinner marks, you can start to do that. And I just accidentally changed my color. Okay, so I want to get rid of that. Now I'll go back to my dark and I'll do the same thing. Actually, I think I'll use a slightly smaller brush. And I want to put those darks back in. Again, I'm not being too fussy because I want to lay down the underlying colors first to give it more texture. So once this is down, then I can go in and I can fuss, making every strand of hair look lovely. But I want some texture underneath it, because we're not just going to have the hair that sits on top, we need to have the hair that's underneath also. So the more texture we add, the better it's going to look in the end. And once again, we need to get rid of this ear. We have the strand of hair that's going right over it. So I'm going to do a little of that now, even though I haven't painted it, just to show you how it's going to look. And remember, if you do decide to do this ear, whatever you do on this side of the ear has to continue on this side. Okay, you have to have that continuity. Okay, so now that we have the basics, we have a slight transition to the face. Now I can come in and start doing, let's take our color. I can use a smaller brush. If I want to, I can start to really get the curls to stand out more. And again, the same techniques we used on the face. We're going to use a lot of texture first, and then we can soften over those with the airbrush effect. We can come back in with the hard brush afterwards and just layer upon layer. One curl wraps into the next. And I mean, I could spend hours and hours and hours on the hair.
I can only imagine just those big long strands of hair, just
right,
making it look perfect. I'm sure you could spend another 2 hours just on that alone.
Exactly. But I just want to kind of give you a feeling for how you can achieve the effects you want, and then let you run away with it. So you don't have to do it my way, but this is just kind of the basics of how I get to the final image. Okay, then what I can do is transition into the softer curls. And then I can choose a different color. Let's take this same color. Let's see. Let's give it a little more orange, which changes the value. And we'll come in and we'll put that in what will be the highlights. And again, if you want to raise this opacity and make the brush a little smaller, you can do that. If you want these, you know, little strands to come over the face a little more, you can do that too. And just try and do everything in little clumps. You don't want to have anything stand out too much on its own.
So this is where a lot of your creative juices come in right here.
Right. I mean, you could make, you know, beautiful curls and locks, or you could make a braid, or you could make her hair straight. You can do whatever you want, but if you really want to spend the time to render it, I mean, you could have a really good time doing it, but know that it's gonna take you a while.
Now, if somebody wanted to actually finish that ear, or if there's a photo where the ear is covered up, they can actually use another photo for a reference, correct?
Exactly.
Off of another person?
Exactly.
Okay.
You can do that, and all you want to do is you want to choose these same colors and use that in this ear. So as long as you're in the same color palette, you're going to be fine. Let me just do. Okay. So I'm adding, let's see, a little more gold so I can get a finer highlight on that hair, just to show you. Okay. Now, you don't want to continue the highlight over the whole little cluster of hair that you've just done, because that'll ruin the effect. What you want to do is keep it to the highest point of the curl or the wave. And you want to use it selectively, only where the light would catch it. If you do it everywhere, it's going to flatten out. It's going to be really selective about where you put this light. And you don't, I mean, I'm using a high highlight just to show you what you can do with it, but you don't have to add this much light to her hair. She doesn't have this much in the picture, but usually if you photograph somebody in lower light, you lose the texture of the hair. So a lot of times you have to improvise and you know, kind of either make it up as you go or get more reference.
Photos of people with hair that's...
Right, or use a mirror.
Yeah.
You know, if you have...
Of course, everybody has hair, but almost everybody has. Photos of people with hair. Well, that shouldn't be... It's not too hard to find, yes.
It's not too hard to find, exactly. So basically, I mean, I would just continue doing this until everything was filled in, you know, and I would come over here and add a little close to the edge of her face to soften that, but right now, that's kind of how it looks from a distance. So you can see, if we just look at this section here, this is very soft into the face. It's starting to work. And I could come back in here and take some of these flesh tones and bring them, just like I was bringing these little strands of highlights, bring strands of flesh into these clumps of hair to make them look more like individual strands.